Hey everyone, right here. Alright, I just watched a video from John Stossel asking why prostitution is still illegal. Well, he didn't really answer a whole lot other than show that a prosecutor was willing to infringe on people's rights to enforce what she felt was right and all that bullshit. Big shocker, prosecutor being an authoritarian busybody. Oh my god. I know. But anywho, I want to go ahead and take a crack at this. Why is prostitution still illegal? Well, before that question comes another question. Why was prostitution made illegal in the first place? Well, being a MGTOW, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about human nature, both male and female nature. Let's start with the male nature. Males like to fuck. Not just because it feels good, but because we're hardwired to do so, to spread our genetics as far and wide as possible. So, on an animalistic level, it makes sense that, guys would end up being willing to pay for sex. Now, let's go ahead and I'll leave the male part there because everyone else can go ahead and pontificate on that. The female nature aspect of this, though, is actually, I find, a little bit more interesting because it's more convoluted, as always. Now, women were fine with prostitution. I wouldn't say fine, but they tolerated prostitution when they didn't really have that much control, all that sort of thing. They also looked at it as a lot of them looked at it as a last ditch fallback resort. But as society progressed, well, prostitution can't really progress all that far, other than servicing new kinks that come along with societal bullshit. Well, as societies change, especially in Western countries, it got to the point where the whole marriage thing, which is a lot of women's ultimate goal, back then it was their ultimate goal. Because then, they had a provider, all that sort of shit. I don't have to go through that again. If you're not familiar with it, go watch other MGTOW content on human nature. Now, this ended up becoming a problem because as society progressed, men started becoming less and less incentivized to marry. And so then prostitution actually became, because prostitution's price started dropping in the grand scheme of things. Like, way before, it was so common that the price wasn't all that high, but it was also, it jumped from, and very rapidly, in all honesty, in a very, as far as humanity being around, a relatively short time, it went from being acceptable enough to where you could fuck a prostitute at the dinner table while waiting for dinner, very quickly to being something that was kind of scorned and kind of underground, but still not illegal, just viewed as immoral. So it was more of the social ostracism. I guarantee you it wasn't guys that started that ostracism, because that's typically not a weapon of men. So that change ended up happening, and I guess that, satisfied the itch for women to control the whole thing, which, women, they're one of their jobs that nature has assigned to them is gatekeepers for sexuality, for reproduction. It is what it is. So I can kind of understand, them being a little protective of that whole situation because prostitutes were kind of breaking the rules as far as women were concerned. But then the sexual revolution came about. Now, before prostitution was, when it was actually, made illegal, for the most part, in at least America. I'm gonna get a little bit more specific here because Stossel's piece was on American prostitution. In America, when it became illegal in most places, the time frame is interesting because it was at a point where men were at their most valuable. Now, I want you to let that sink in. Men were at their most valuable. Men were viewed as a precious commodity to women at that point. At least the ones that were going to reproduce anyway. And women, for the first time, were finding themselves in a situation where they would have to settle. I say for the first time, I mean, women have had to settle based off of different economic situations and all that sort of shit. But for the most part, in general, women had the choices. Well, when we got to that point, now, lawmakers, since time immemorial, have almost always been married. And they were mostly male. And that's where feminists try to make the argument of, oh, women weren't in power, it was all guys. But then they sit there and try to say, oh, well, behind every great man was a great woman. But then they try to, again, claim that women had no power. Bull fucking shit. I'm squashing this right here, right now, on this channel, at least for people viewing my channel that aren't really into other MGTOW shit. Women have always had the primary say because they could always turn off the nookie to the guys who were making the laws. So they had the biggest fucking say because they were the ones that got laws put on the docket to be voted on or whatever. Because I guarantee you, guys left to their own devices without the meddling of women would never have illegalized prostitution. Wouldn't have fucking happened. So, let's just be honest. This is a female creation. This was women putting limiters on women because women don't like to compete. And prostitutes were out competing your average everyday woman. Why? Well, MGTOWs jokingly make the argument all the fucking time. It's better to pay a known price up front for sex if you're going to engage in sex than flipping the fucking coin every time you have sex with a girlfriend. And you don't even know whether or not you're going to be getting any, and yet you have to spend all the time, effort, and money on the date, and you're not guaranteed a damn thing. With a prostitute, you're guaranteed that you're going to get your dick sucked, you're going to have someone riding your rod, whatever, all right? Doesn't fucking matter, and you're going to know the cost up front. It's a much better deal for men, and women cannot have that. Women absolutely hate that idea. And I mean, there's male prostitutes out there. I don't see any of these women sitting there and saying, oh, those poor male prostitutes. They go after the female prostitutes, but they don't want to seem authoritarian. They don't want to blatantly come out and say, oh, I don't want you to do this because it's inconvenient for me. or admit that there's jealousy there or anything along those lines. They sit there and say, "Oh, well, these poor women, they don't have a choice," and da 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 da. And then when they're confronted with women, like in the Stossel video, women that work in the sex trade, that are actual prostitutes and are happy with their choice, that are happy with their job, that enjoy their job, that are willing to defend their job, well, that's when the mask slips. And then all of a sudden, those women are ostracized and put into their own little tiny group. You see, that's where this comes into play. They will always use ostracism to defend against valid arguments. And I mean, we've seen them try to come for cam girls. We've seen them try to come for porn and all that sort of shit. And now they're trying to come after sex bots and all of that. Women do not want competition. Not when it comes to your wallet. That's the reason why when women are interested in a guy, when there's a high value guy, they're willing to backstab each other to try to get with that guy. They'll lie about each other. They'll talk smack about each other. They'll air the dirty laundry out of the other person to make them look bad. And by extension, making themselves look better and blah, 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 blah. We've all seen that game play out. We all went through high school. All right? You saw that shit play out. Even if you weren't the most attractive guy, you saw it happen from the outside in at the very fucking least. I saw it happen all the fucking time, but that's because I hung out with a lot of girls when I was in high school. I saw all this shit point fucking blank, and they did it right in front of me because they forgot that, hello, straight guy. I wasn't a guy. I was the friend. And so they did all this nasty ass shit in front of me. And guess what? It doesn't stop when they're quote-unquote full-grown women. It doesn't fucking happen. And I say quote-unquote full-grown women because very few women actually grow up. I think it's funny that everyone's all like, oh, men have the Peter Pan syndrome, da-da-da-da-da, they just want to play their video games, da-da-da-da. It's all like, yeah, we have our fucking hobbies. We have our ways that we want to fucking decompress. So sorry that men do the dirtiest, hardest jobs significantly more than women, and women are sitting there and bitching and arguing, saying that they should get all the nice air-conditioned, super easy, high-paying fucking jobs without having to fucking work for it because vagina. And now they're bitching and complaining about the women that are actually, getting down and dirty, but sitting there and working the sex trade, servicing the men that these women wouldn't typically touch anyway. But these women are like EA. If they're not getting all the money from their quote-unquote customers, then it's not enough. And now they got to try to destroy competition. That is the reason why prostitution is still illegal. Is because of moral busybody women. And then little conservative men that sit there and go along with it because they think that if prostitution is made illegal, it makes them a better person. No, it fucking doesn't. All it does is mean that you are going to go ahead and create the next rapist. That's all it fucking is. You're not doing anyone any good. You're making it so a woman can't make her own way in the way that she deems fit. You're making it so a guy's not able to get his needs met, even though he has the means to go ahead and pay for this service. I mean, Who are you fucking helping here? And as soon as you ask that question to these people, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to look through my history, and I'm going to find the link for that video, and I'm going to link the video in the down bar, so you can go ahead and watch it yourself. But these people will always sit there and say, oh, well, it's to protect, you know, other people. It's all like, all right, what other people? Point to someone. And at first, they'll go ahead, and if you actually really run out the conversation, here's how it goes. They sit there and they point to sex trafficking. They're all like, we're against that, and prostitution leads to that. No, it doesn't. In fact, in areas where prostitution is legal, guess what? Much less human trafficking, because much higher chance of law enforcement getting into play there. The women can actually go ahead and get help. And they actually crack down on illegal prostitution significantly harder in areas where prostitution is legal. So that's one thing. Second thing they'll go ahead and point to is they're all like, oh, well, you know, I mean, these men go out and they cheat on their wives. And what's stopping them from going out to a motherfucking bar? Or going and purchasing an illegal prostitute? Nothing. Well, these women have all this potential. Let them make their own fucking decisions. And no, not all of these women have so much potential. Some of them, all they're good for is fucking. Just like there are some guys out there that are only good for fucking. That's it. That's all their skills are. Anything else they try to do, they fuck it up epically. I mean, it just pisses me off when I sit here and hear this argument against prostitution. And I'm not even someone who is fully in favor of prostitution, because there's a lot of risk that comes along with it. But I mean, if it's legal, at least then the risk can be mitigated. Whereas if it's illegal and underground, just like anything else, it makes it infinitely more dangerous. Like with marijuana. If marijuana was legalized countrywide, you would have significantly less instances of people getting marijuana that's laced with more hardcore shit to get them fucking addicted. Because it wouldn't be alongside that other shit anymore. I mean, it just pisses me the hell off. Honestly, if they're perfectly fine with a woman going out and fucking for free, but they have a problem with a woman going out and fucking for money. Let that sink in. But anywho, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the video here. This is going to be a shorter video than usual. But no, I just needed to go ahead and talk about this. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. What do you guys think? I mean, honestly, like, do you think if prostitution was legalized, it would make life better for, you know, men and women? Or do you think it would make it worse? Or what would fucking happen? And if you're one of those people that's like, yeah, it should be legal, but it should be legislated, go ahead and give us all an idea of what type of regulation you think would need to be there. I mean, like, maybe, you know, getting, you know, tested for STDs. I think that should be definite. But, you know, go ahead and let me know down in the comments, because I'm honestly interested to get other people's opinions on this. But yeah, I mean, I just had to address that this is a woman-made problem. This is not a man-made problem. This is not a problem that guys necessarily made. So, everyone have yourself a great day or night or whatever it is, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. Have yourselves a good one. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.